Hey guys, welcome back to the Carla Code. On today's episode, I'm going to have a conversation with a beautiful woman inside and out. She is obsessed with working on herself and is also obsessed with skincare thanks to having a severe acne problem when she was younger. She is 100% Albanian and grew up in a bilingual household just like me, which makes it super interesting for me to talk to her. I actually wanted her on the Carla Code because I saw nothing but positivity radiating from her stories and posts. And I've actually never met her in person, but somehow through the wonders of social media, we became friends. So without further ado, everybody, my guest is Sofia Kasuli. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, thank you, Carla. I'm so happy that you asked me to come on. I was super excited and ready to talk to you. So, very excited to be a part of this.
No, thank you. Super excited
Yeah,
to have
thank
you on here.
you.
So yeah, your Instagram is literally just like radiating like goodness, and you're super
Thank
bubbly,
you.
and you're definitely like the kind of person that I want in my life, and you're the kind of people that I seek in my life. And I was just telling you a few minutes ago that it's a little bit difficult for me to meet people, just in my everyday life, but it's
Yeah.
super cool that I get to connect with people like you because of social media, because of Instagram and the podcast now. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. And like I said, thank you for having me. I've been following you for a while, even before you really got into your podcast. And I know we've always messaged back and forth and on stuff that we like on each other's pages. So it's really nice to actually get to talk to you in person. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Same here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to get to know you a little bit, and I'm sure everybody will want to get to know you a little bit as well. So
Yes.
I didn't know you were Albanian. Talk to me a little bit about that, your childhood. Where did you grow up? Where were you born? Where do you live now? Tell me something.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was actually born here in Clearwater, Florida. My whole family is Albanian. I'm 100% Albanian. My mom and dad and grandma and grandfather actually came here while my mom was pregnant. So they came straight from Albania, didn't know any English at all. Growing up in my family, it was always speaking Albanian at home. It still is. And then going to school or being with friends and family and just being really in that like American culture and American vibe. So it's always been living that double lifestyle almost, trying to incorporate both cultures into my life. So my family come from a city called Korcha in Albania. So it's another major town. And, when they first came over here, it was very hard for them to be able to get into the American lifestyle. My grandfather was a professor at a university, biology professor, and my grandmother worked in economics, and my mom was a nurse. But because they didn't have, any schooling over here or any type of, barely even spoke English for that matter, it was very hard for them to find jobs. So they kind of bounced back and forth between like mediocre jobs, working at hotels and stuff like that. So for me, I was just left, either with hanging out with my grandparents, the babysitter, or, running around with the neighborhood kids. So I feel like I kind of, got to see like the way that other kids were with their families, and then I'd come home and it was more of a very ethnic culture, which I love so much. I'm 100% proud of being Albanian. I love coming home and getting to be a part of my family. As I was growing up, my mom actually got remarried, so I have two little sisters that are 11 and 8. So they are a big, big part of my life. My mom remarried to an American guy, my stepdad, Steve, and they're both learning Albanian as well. So it's very important, like, it not only for me but for my family to keep those cultures going, even though we are in a different country and we are so far away from home. So yeah, that's a little bit about the Albanian side for me.
That's so cool. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, for me personally, and this is something that I talked to my the other person that I interviewed last time with David, is we were chatting a little bit about, you know, how he was embarrassed when he was younger because he was Chinese and because his parents only spoke Mandarin and Chinese and because they didn't speak English very well. I remember
Yeah.
specifically being like, and it pisses me off now, but I remember being like embarrassed that I was Mexican. I would actually pretend sometimes that I didn't know Spanish. Oh gosh,
Oh, I
I
was the
was
same way. My name is spelled Sofia, and to fit in, I would spell it Sophia. I
no
would literally write it at
way.
the top of my papers because I wanted to fit in. You know, everyone wants to fit in when you're at that age, and it can be hard when you're different, when you come from a different culture.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And, now that
Mhm.
we're adults, obviously, we see all of the differences that we've always had. And it's actually something amazing. Like being able to be different from everybody else is actually what makes you stand out. And, what probably, I mean, it's just crazy. I used to literally, my dad, he had this really nice truck when I was in high school, right? But then he
Mhm.
also had this tiny little yellow buggy, an old 1970 something one. And whenever
Yeah.
he had the big truck, I would want him to drop me off like in the front of the school so everybody could see me. But then when he would drop me off in the buggy, I would tell him to drop me off at the corner. And it was just so many things I was embarrassed about, being like from a lower income family. I was embarrassed about knowing Spanish. I was embarrassed about being Mexican. And yeah, I was talking to Luke about that last time. I was telling him, like, God, so many things that I regret just because also like I don't have my dad around anymore. And just like
Yeah,
how we acted when we were younger. It's hard because we don't want to pass that kind of embarrassment on to our like future generations, but it's also
absolutely.
something that will probably be there and it sucks.
It does. I remember, in that aspect, getting dropped off at school, I would always take the bus. So my grandfather would walk me down to the bus stop, and I'd always be like, okay, the bus is coming. The bus is coming. You can go now,
Oh,
because I didn't feel, and now my grandfather passed away sophomore year. I regret those little moments that I didn't spend extra time hanging out with him or really getting to, especially because he was a professor. He was always like I'm really into like the science of things and that kind of aspect. And he knew all about it and he would try to talk to me, but I was so young that it didn't seep in the way that it would now. So I just wish that I could have a conversation with him again and really get some of that knowledge that he had from him. So yeah, that's the same thing for me. I would be embarrassed, and then sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, look, me, my family, this, like I can speak another language. People would think was cool. And then other times I'd be like, oh, hiding, in a corner somewhere. So it was a lot of back and forth, that's for sure.
such a crazy thing. I love talking to
How
people who
crazy.
also grew up in the same kind of like dynamics that I did because yeah, I mean obviously Luke can't really relate. He's
Yeah.
American and English was his only language. Now he just tries very, very hard to speak Spanish. And once we started traveling, that's when I started seeing the importance of knowing different languages. Like I had mentioned, I tried to hide the fact that I knew Spanish when I was younger. And I know people still that live back in like the city that I was raised in El Paso.
Mhm.
And a lot of people that are having kids are not teaching their kids Spanish because of the same thing. And it's because they haven't like gotten around different cultures yet. They haven't traveled enough, I think, yet. And they're still kind of
Mhm.
stuck in that same mentality that I was when I was younger. And it's super sad. So that's something I feel like I preach a lot to people is that, I mean, we all need to, if we know what different languages, we need to teach our
Learn
children
it.
that.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I always have loved that, my mom and my grandma always talk to us in Albanian, even now that they know English. Even my sisters, they're, half American, half, Albanian by blood, and they can speak Albanian. They go to an Albanian school on Saturdays, and there's a lot of, girls that I grew up with that have kids now, and, they haven't even taught their girls or their sons Albanian because it's just so hard, and they're so used to speaking English now. And a lot of people are like, wow, I can't believe your sisters can speak Albanian, growing up in America. So it's very important because when you're bilingual or trilingual or five languages like David could speak, right? If I can recall, you're expanding your brain and you're allowing for more information to come in all different forms. So why not hold on to that piece of like your heritage? And that is important for like growing up. Like you might be embarrassed about certain aspects, but everyone has their own culture. And I feel like in America, we are this big melting pot, but then people try to hide those different sides of them and try to make it whatever their idea of being an American is. And really it's just a whole mix of different people. My boyfriend as well is American on his mom's side. They're Lebanese. They don't speak it, but they still eat the food. And his grandfather was very much Lebanese and stuff like that. So they still hold on to those little pieces. And I feel like that's very nice. I took him to Europe about a year and a half ago to meet my dad because he lives in Albania. And we went to like Greece and a couple other countries, and he loved it. I mean, he was obsessed. He's like, your grandma keeps feeding me all this delicious food. Like, I love this, this place is beautiful. You would never, think to come, and now that I'm here, I'm so happy that you took me. And it was his first time traveling out of the country ever. So it was very special, to get to share that with him.
That was your boyfriend's first time traveling out of the country?
Out of the country. Yes, that was
Yeah.
his first time.
That's so cool. Okie dokie. So let me see. How was your school life growing up then? What are some of like your better memories? What are some of like your worst memories? I know you mentioned to me that you had acne, but you said that didn't happen until you were like 21 or so.
Yeah, it was so weird. So in high school, I didn't really have much acne besides like occasional random pimples. Like it wasn't anything that was like cystic and really like obvious that couldn't be covered up. And then after senior year, I started college, and then I remember going to Miami for my 21st birthday, and I came back, and literally 2 months later, my skin exploded. I mean, I don't know what happened, but it was cystic acne all down the chin
Oh,
area, and to my neck and everything, to the point where I was literally like crying to my mom every day, like, what's going on? Like, act like I've never had these issues before, and why are they happening outside of my teen years? So I went to, a couple different doctors. I got put on doxycycline. That made it worse because it's supposed to make it worse before it makes it better. And my skin was cracking. I was upset all the time. Like with my job, I do a lot of promotions. So they take us places, and you're in front of, the screen or a camera all the time, and you have to be camera ready. And it was very hard to be when you couldn't cover up the cystic acne in any way, shape, or form, no matter how much you tried. So I tried just about everything from gut cleanses to vitamins to topical creams, and sometimes they'd make it worse, and then I'd have a rash, and then it would get a little better, and then it would come right back again, and it was just like a vicious cycle. Like I remember, sitting, like taking a shower one day and just like crying to myself, saying like, I just want to be able to touch my face and not feel bumps on it. Like they were painful. I could, like, I'd wake up in the morning and I would just automatically start crying. And it's hard because you would think such like a superficial thing shouldn't upset you, but when you're dealing with it every single day and you can tell other people can see it, and you don't even feel comfortable like leaving the house without makeup on, that was something that really, really affected me my freshman and sophomore year of college. It was like I wanted to just go to class and then run home. I didn't want to make friends or talk to people. And, I met my boyfriend, my current boyfriend at the time then, and he knew me a little bit before I had the acne. And he would always tell me, it's fine, it's not a big deal, no one's looking at that. But for me, it was, it was a big issue because women care about their appearance and they care about what they look like to other people and to themselves. So I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like I said, I was trying and trying and trying. And then I finally started doing like facials, like monthly facials. I got in with a good esthetician, and she started doing hydrofacials on me. So that was just like a gentle little, I got a couple like not microneedling, but microdermabrasions.
mhm.
And that almost irritated my skin even more. But the hydrofacial was full of hyaluronic acid, so it was really helping. I think what I was doing wrong is I was drying my skin out too much. So I was like worried about it producing oil, but I didn't realize at the time that the oil production needed to happen. I needed to add more hydration to it to help out a little more. On top of the hormonal, through the cystic acne that I was actually forming. So through like a combination of a lot of facials for like the past 2 years now, on top of, using really good like retinols and AHAs, a lot of vitamin C and stuff to kind of really penetrate the skin. That's how I finally got it to where it is now, which is like a blessing. I mean, I wish I could show you what it looked like before, but you couldn't see a spot that didn't have acne, basically.
No, your
So
skin looks beautiful.
yeah,
But
thank
I
you.
mean, did you ever figure it out at all? Like, was it a diet change? Was it something you did, or
You
like
know,
how did it
I
happen?
think it was a combination of a lot of things. I think it had a lot to do with my diet and what I was eating because the gut cleanse helped a lot. I
Mm.
would take, probiotics and stuff to really help from the inside out. I think that, what I was eating and stuff, I was young, I was always eating junk food and going out and partying all night, smoking and just all these things that just probably were really irritating my skin. And what the dermatologist also told me is your skin like regenerates itself every 7 years. So from
Mm.
that point, it was like it was right at that 7 year mark when I turned 21, and so he thought that maybe it had something to do with that. So I haven't really ever solved the mystery. I do get sometimes, I got on birth control, which is really nice, like a low estrogen birth control. I had never been on it before, and that really helped with the hormonal side of things. And then just kind of keeping up with my skincare regimen. And then every time if I'm the kind of person that if I go to bed one time with my makeup on or don't cleanse properly, I will wake up with acne. So it's very
Whoa.
sensitive. It's very like I have to change my pillowcases like we have 2 dogs and they love to sleep on the bed, and I have to change those every 2 days or, just make sure that I'm taking it off the bed when I leave in the morning so that I don't get their dirt or fur. It's like very sensitive to all things, which is weird because nothing else on me. I'm not sensitive to certain foods or anywhere else like skincare wise except for my face. So,
Gosh, so you have
yeah,
to be like on it all the time, like
on
constantly
it.
like doing different things to keep your skin clear.
Absolutely, and, I'll have girlfriends who have beautiful skin, and they will fall asleep with their makeup on or do whatever, and they're like, "I'm fine." And I'm like, "I know, but it doesn't work like that for me. I have to be more cautious, because I mean, no one likes that. No one likes to wake up and have, something, especially the cystic ones where they're not poppable, they're not you can't do anything except for wait for it to go away. So those are the ones that
Oh
really
God.
get you.
I'm so sorry
Yeah,
that you had to go through
yeah,
that. That sounds like honestly like a nightmare because you're right. As a woman, we're just like constantly trying to, look pretty and look presentable. And
absolutely.
oh, acne is the worst. I mean, I've never had an issue with acne, but Luke used to have a really bad issue with it when he was in high school, and he talks about it like it was like the end of the world. And he's a guy, but I can't even imagine for a girl because typically guys are more kind of like whatever about that kind of
Whatever,
stuff.
yeah,
But even
yeah.
he said he used to not even like stay in the cafeteria during lunch, that he would go hide in the restroom, and that's where he would like eat like his lunch and stuff, or he would just like try to go home because he didn't
Me
want to talk.
too.
You did too?
Yeah, I would just go home. I would eat my lunch in my car in the parking garage, literally, because I just couldn't. I would put makeup on and then I'd get out of the class and go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh my God, it's cracked everywhere. It looks oily and terrible. And you don't want to meet new people when you think that they're just zoning in on your face. So those first 2 years were hard for sure. And if I was single, it probably would have been harder because I would have been like, I don't want to talk to any boys. Like no one come up to me. I didn't feel confident in my own skin at all at that point.
Did you ever do that? There was that treatment that he did. I forgot what it's called. You take some sort of like pills and it kind of, is it the one you mentioned right now where it kind of
The
dries you
I
out?
took I took doxycycline. It was a 3-month process, but I only got a month and a half in because it was drying out my face so bad. And what it does is it brings the acne to the surface. So anything that was about to come was coming faster. And at that time, my job was sending me to Chicago to open a location. And I was having to, like I said, be in front of the camera all the time. And I was thinking, I can't have all these major breakouts that are even worse than what I'm already experiencing, and be doing the stuff that I'm doing. So I just I took a month and a half and then I kind of stopped and was scared to start again because my skin was starting to clear up after the gut cleanse. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to mess with it. But I know plenty of girls that have had a lot of luck with doxycycline and swear by it and believe that it truly does work if you can get through that like detoxing phase almost.
Yeah, Luke did do that and it did help him. It
Yeah,
completely got rid of it and he never worried about it again. Like he
that's
wasn't,
awesome.
yeah, I know it is.
That's amazing.
What is that gut cleanse you mentioned? I'd like to know
So
more about that.
I was trying to figure out, I was literally on YouTube all the time trying to figure out what was wrong with my skin. So I started following a lot of like natural medicine, a lot of girls that really healed like their skin from the inside out. And I can't remember the YouTuber because it's been so long, but she was talking about how she would take bacteria. It's like because your gut has good and bad bacteria, and more of the good bacteria helps with everything else. So she would go to like a Whole Foods or a natural medicine store and buy like live bacteria, and you keep it in your fridge, and you would mix a couple of drops. It was like a brown bottle that I got, and I would mix a couple drops in with water and just chug that every single day, once a day. I did that for about maybe a month or so, and that really, really helped because on top of that, I was switching from eating, I mean, fries and greasy food and stuff like that every single day to like salmon and, like a little bit, healthier things for me that weren't producing all that grease and oil that I didn't need on my face. So I feel like that gut cleanse, like I'll even do that every once in a while now if I'm, like had a really like long binger of drinking or just like really bad food or whatever. It's always like super important for me to make sure that my gut's like doing what it needs to do. So that was super, super helpful, was just following all those like the YouTube channels and figuring out how the girls are doing it naturally.
It's hard, like, trying to piece everything together that everybody,
Yeah.
like, talks about because I can't piece anything together. Like, I can't even I don't even know how to do my makeup, honestly. And, like, that's even though there's so much information out there on how to do makeup
Yeah.
and how to do skincare routines and whatnot, like, I still can't piece anything together. Right now, I have a very simple one because I've
Mhm.
never ever had a skincare routine like ever in my entire life. I've been that girl that constantly goes to sleep with my makeup on and I am fine the next day. But
Yeah.
I'm 31 now, so my skin has not been looking as like fresh as it used to. So I started buying like those little, I have like a little vitamin C oil that I put
Yes.
on my face every day. I have,
That will be amazing for you.
is it
I'm
really? Do you use
obsessed.
it?
I'm obsessed with vitamin C. Just make sure you keep using your SPF because as fast as it lightens your skin, it will show dark spots if you're putting it on and then going out directly in the sun because it has such that high concentration, of the vitamin C. But I swear by vitamin C and I swear by all of your acids, like your lactic acids, AHAs, BHAs, anything like that. I'm like crazy about because you really see the results within a week or so. That's what's so amazing about using those products every single day.
Yeah, that which acids were you talking about? I know I have one of them, hydrogen
So
or something. I'm not
so
sure.
I use hyaluronic acid. Is
There you go.
it's I think it's 90 or 99% water soluble. So it holds a lot of water. So what it's doing, it's allowing as much hydration to seep into your skin as possible. So I always use that. I buy like the straight hyaluronic acid. It's in a dropper, and like the way that you're supposed to layer like your skincare routine is like, from light to thicker. So if it's a cream, like that would be like kind of your last thing that you would put on. And I always wash my face, cleanse, do all that stuff, and then I'll put a couple drops of hyaluronic acid, and then I'll put on my Age Rewind, which is a mix of AHAs, BHAs. I actually think I have it here somewhere.
Well, yes, show us,
Oh,
please.
this is. Let me see if I can get this glare out of here a little bit. Oh, I'm trying to do that like YouTuber thing where you
Yeah, it's
can.
not working.
Yeah, it's not working. Oh, there we go. So it's just called Age Rewind. And this is what I'll use at night. And it has all of the acids and a lot of stuff to help with collagen production, which helps with your wrinkles and just the texture. I had really bad scarring after my acne. So the texture was, the acne was not there, but the texture was. So I started doing a lot of micro needling
Mhm.
facials. I don't know if you've ever heard of those before, I'm sure. And those really helped. And then she would always recommend put vitamin C on for those next 2 or 3 days that you have downtime, because that's what's going to really help heal. So then I just use like a C Radiance vitamin C. This is more for like people who, because vitamin C can be tricky. It can almost make you break out or kind of feel like you have a little bit of a rash if you're using a really high concentration of it. So the one that I use is kind of right in the middle. Or if I use like my like higher medical grade ones, I'll do it like once a week. or every couple days to really, I feel like I've become a little scientist with all my skincare stuff, just kind of through trial and error on my own face. So yeah, all of those, like I said, the acids are going to be your best friend and they're really easy. You can just, it's 2 bottles. You can put it into your routine and you don't have to worry about having 7 or 8 different steps.
No, that's really cool that you become like
Yeah.
a scientist on it, because I feel like anytime that something's wrong in our life, we want to do everything possible to try to make it right. So you just like went all in and you just like
Oh
found
yeah.
out everything that you needed to do in order to have like nice skin.
Yeah, exactly. I zoned in on it. I felt like I had to because it was something that bothered me every single day. And when you're so focused on one thing, you can't focus on being happy or listening to podcasts or bettering yourself because, you're so worried about that one thing that's on your mind. And for me, it was, having the really bad skincare issues for sure.
Yeah. So I just
Yeah.
recently, I think like 2 weeks ago, yeah, it's probably been like 2.5 weeks ago, I went in and they did this treatment on my face, and it's called
Mhm.
the Venus Viva. And I guess
Mm.
what it basically is that it's kind of like micro needling, because
Okay.
it was kind of like a stamp that they did throughout like my entire face. And
Yeah.
it punctured
Hmm.
my skin.
Yep. Yep.
So first they did like a thing where it was like a heat kind of thing. First they did like some kind of like heat thing going up and like that on my skin, and it kind of burned a little bit. And then they put a like a numbing cream all over my face, and then they did that micro needling. And I was kind of freaking out like the first week after, because my skin was feeling really rough and I still had all of like the little scabs all over, and I thought
Yep.
something bad happened. And then yesterday I woke up and I was like, holy shit, my skin looks
Yeah.
nice.
Yep. That's how it happens every time. Yeah.
It's amazing. My pores were kind of starting to get big around here, and I'm telling
And
you,
it
it started looking a
tighten
little,
them.
yeah, my face just
Yeah.
was looking a little bit like dull and not as like fresh and tight. And yeah, the past 2 days, Luke's like, dude, what happened to your skin? Like, you look really nice. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm like, I think it worked. Is that something that you do often? How often do you do?
Yeah, so I do something similar. I think yours was with just an added benefit on top, whatever the warming thing that they did beforehand. But it's the same way. I go in and she numbs my face for 20 to 30 minutes, and then it's like a little diamond little wand with a bunch of punctures, and it can go up to, I think it's point 0.8 or 0.08, don't quote me on it, but she started me off low and then went deeper on my cheeks, because I don't know about for you, but for me it really hurt on my forehead, and then it felt like a weird tingle on my nose.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of I've done, I think, 5 sessions with her now, and it's recommended for people with, really bad acne scarring like I had, 4 to 5, which I'm going to go back for my next one. It's just, you do need a couple days of downtime. Your face is like red afterwards and you don't want to be out in the sun or really putting any makeup on it. I give myself at least a good 3 days of no interaction with anybody but Netflix.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've done that, and that's what's really helped with. But a lot of people will message me and they'll confuse that with it helping with the acne, and it doesn't, because with you already, that's not helping with your actual active acne. That I recommend that to people for when you have the scarring left over, or if you don't have any acne issues and you just want to improve the texture, the dullness. It's gonna, what the micro cuts are doing, it's telling your body, hey, there's a wound, we need to go heal it. So what it's doing, it's sending those collagens, it's sending all those really good, things in your body to come and repair and close that wound. But since they're micro cuts and it's all over your face, it's producing that collagen, and then you wake up a week later and you're like, wow, I look great and I'm glowing. And I think they also say that up to 5 weeks, like by your 5-week mark after this facial, your skin's gonna look like the best, because it needs that time to like repair and heal. And it's crazy what the body can do. It's crazy how much it can fix, any issues that you could be having on a surface level.
Yeah, no, I'm super happy about it. And honestly, I know
Yeah.
you're also going to be like, oh my God, what have you been doing your entire life? I've never been one to wear sunscreen either. I'm really, really, I know. Everybody
You
gets so
have
mad at me.
to.
People get so mad at me. My mom's like, "Are you kidding me, Carla?"
Yeah,
And I don't wear it. But after this treatment, I became obsessed with
yeah,
wearing it. So hopefully it's like a full-on habit now, just because like,
yeah.
oh my God, I know what happens to scars if you allow the sun to hit
Put
them.
them in the sun.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they
they get
get really
darker.
dark and really bad because that's what happens. Like, I don't know if you know about this, but I do that tattoo removal. So I can't
I
be out
saw.
in so I can't be out in the sun after I do that. And if I am, I have to cover it really well. And there's been a couple of times that I've let a little bit of sun kind of touch it, and it's either hyper pigmented, so it's gotten lighter, or there's been some spots that have actually gotten darker. So from that, I learned, I'm like, oh man, like I actually do need to really cover up. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to let this
Yeah.
happen to my face, because that would,
And if you do have scars like that, next time you get a treatment like the one you just did, ask her to go over that scar because it helps with any type of scarring. So I got a hyperpigmented scar here over the summer. I was going through rocks in the water, whatever, and I she was able to go over it. I think she did it twice, and it's still a little bit there, but it's definitely not as deep and as dark as it was. So that really helps with like any type of scarring. I know she's even done it for like stretch marks or any women dealing with stuff
mm,
like that. They've done it like on the neck, on the chest area. So it really works for any part of your body that needs a little bit of help. So I
that's
really
really
like that. But
cool. Yeah,
yeah, but the
she,
SPF, you definitely need to wear that. Like, you got to find one you love. For me, it took me a while, even though I was into the skincare world. I always hated wearing sunscreen because I hated the flashback that you almost get,
Mhm.
and when you take pictures, or I hated the consistency. I'd put it on and I would feel like my makeup wouldn't sit the same way that it would without sunscreen on. So I would skip it and I'd be like, oh, it's okay. There's like 15% SPF on my foundation. Like, no, that's not enough. So I finally found Clinique makes a tinted sunscreen, and it's zero flashback and it's oil free, non-comedogenic, all that like good stuff for your face. And ever since then, like now I actually get excited to put that on because I can go out and wear just that, and it almost gives you like an even complexion on top of helping your skin from the sun. So that's what I always tell people. I'm like, just keep trying till you find one that you really 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 like.
I'm going to write that one down. You said it was Clinique
Yeah, Clinique, I think it's called City Block,
City Block.
and it's in a green tube, and yeah, it's a tinted sunscreen. So it's been, like I said, you can just go out in public and just have that on and still feel nice and be protected. So
That's cool. Okay, so
yeah.
I'm noticing already just from talking to you, and then I noticed it also on your Instagram, you speak very well in front of cameras. How did that
Really? I
happen? What
don't.
did you do? Like, how did you get so well? Because you smile a lot, you do everything you're supposed to do in front of a camera. I feel like you need to be in front of a camera all the time.
I have no clue. Like before this interview, I was so nervous. Like my mom came into my room, I was talking to her, and she's like, "You're gonna be fine." I'm like, "I know, I've just never done something like this." But I think once I get to talking, my mouth just keeps on moving, and I don't have to, I just keep talking to people and get really into whatever conversation we're having. Plus, it's really easy to talk to you because, like I said, I feel like we have a lot in common. So
That's awesome. No, I feel
yeah.
like you need your own YouTube channel. You really do.
Oh, that'd be nice. Maybe I can start one for skincare
You
and help some people
should.
out that way? So yeah, that
No,
would be
absolutely. I think
nice.
that would be a really, really great idea. Yeah, definitely talking on
Yeah.
skincare and then sharing like your story with acne. I think it would do really, really well.
Yeah, yeah, I've still been hesitant to post, like I went through my phone actually because I keep all my pictures, and I found like I would take progress pictures of everything and videos, like diaries.
Wow.
I journal a lot of what it looked like, and I want to one of these days I'm gonna summon up the courage to actually, post that and show people before and after because I was looking the other day, how if you have your Instagram set up as a business account, you can look at your insights and stuff. And some of my most, engaging posts have been the ones that are dealing with my skincare. And it's a lot of people always consistently message me, what are you using? What are you doing? Does this work for me? How can it help me? Because a lot of people have those issues and they don't want to talk about them or don't know who to talk about them for. Like I said, I come from a very European household. So when I told my mom I was having acne issues, her solution was like, put toothpaste on it or something like that, you know, like it wasn't like, and not a lot of people have, knowledge on the skincare unless you're going to an actual doctor, and you might not have insurance for a doctor, so there's plenty of natural ways and, just over the counter stuff and stuff that I use to help clear out your skin. So yeah, maybe I will start a channel with that. You're kind of inspiring me now for that.
No, I
That
think
might
it's
be
so important to
helpful.
be, I guess, in a way vulnerable. I guess that's when I started getting a lot more feedback from girls as well.
Yeah.
When I started being a lot more real, because I feel that in today's society with social media, I mean, we're constantly seeing all of these people and all of these girls, and everybody looks completely perfect. And then it's so refreshing to find out that they're not perfect, that they do
Yeah.
go through things just like everyone else is going through. And that's why I kind of
Mm.
started doing it as well. That's why I started sharing a lot
Mm.
of like my problems with everybody, and like just talking about, mental health issues and whatnot, because I didn't like that people thought that everything was, beautiful and fine and dandy in my life, and that everything was perfect when everything is anything but that. And I figured, since I was going through this stuff, I'm sure a lot of other people were going through the same thing. So I wanted to share all of that. So yeah, I think it would be a really good idea for you to do that.
And I love that, and that's another reason why I really like your page, because you do keep it very real. And I think I started following you because of all your traveling that you and Luke were doing. And I love to travel. That's like something like I could book a plane ticket right now and go somewhere if someone asked me to. And I started following you for that. I remember being like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. Her and her boyfriend traveled the world together. Like, how can I do this? Like, I want Trey and I to do this. And then as I was messaging you on certain things, you would actually reply back to me. And I'm like, holy crap, this isn't like, someone that's unreachable, like unable to talk to you, someone that actually like cares about talking to like their followers and making them friends and stuff. And you've always just been very kind when we've messaged back and forth, which has been nice. It's welcoming, and it's nice to be able to talk to people that you don't know, because after college and high school, you don't really get to talk to people. Like you said, like you might travel and stuff, but you don't get to reach out and really make those like actual connections. So I really like that. And that's something that I try to do with my page too, is a lot of people will think, I can't talk to her. I could never relate to her. She may never relate to me, but you never really know until you actually get to talking to someone if you guys could be friends or not. So I like
Totally.
that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I made that a big effort after a little while, because um I guess I didn't like the direction that my page was going in, because I mean, when I did start off like my Instagram, I did start off doing like the wannabe like hot girl kind of thing, doing nothing but that kind of stuff, and wanting that feedback. But it was all from guys, and it was just, getting a bunch of messages from guys, and like, it was a bunch of DMs from guys, and I would think like, ew, like I don't want this. I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
When it got to
Yeah.
like a certain size, I was just like, I'm like, this isn't happiness for guys to be sending you all these nasty messages and commenting about how hot and sexy you are. So I
Right.
on purpose decided to turn my page around, and I'm like, okay, I want this to be like a page where girls talk to me. Like I don't want guys to talk to me anymore. I don't want nasty messages anymore. And if you look at any of my pictures, you will not see a single like nasty comment anymore from a guy.
I
And
love that, because I felt the same way. Mine was at first all about the modeling and the doing stuff like that and shoots in bikinis, which I still love, but it was very focused towards guys messaging you or, writing you, and I wanted it as a place to where I can feel comfortable talking to other girls and they can too. And I feel like it's finally gotten to that point. I was talking to Trey the other day and I was like, wow, I'm literally writing back and forth with 6 or 7 girls in my messages right now that I've never met before, but we talk to each other almost on a daily basis. And that feels nice. That feels nice instead of having to constantly go in there and see all these messages from guys. It's just you're using your social media in a whole different way at that point.
yeah, I'm in the exact same way now too. It's nothing but conversations with a ton of girls. And like, and I tell Luke, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna interview this girl today. He's like, do you know her? And I'm like, well, no, not really, but but I kind of do, because we talk all the time. But yeah, it's such a nice thing to know that you can actually um change who people think you are in a sense. You can
Yeah.
do like a whole facelift on yourself. You can literally be anybody you want to be. And that's like a big lesson, I think, to anybody. Like you can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
You can have the audience that you want to have. You just have to kind of like figure it out. And
You have to go towards that platform, and a lot of people are scared. I know I was. I was like, people, aren't gonna like the content. They're gonna not like me talking more about skincare or hair care or whatever it is. And then I was like, you know what? I don't care. Yeah, this page is to connect to other people, but it's still a representation of who I am. And when I was posting that stuff, trying to be someone I wasn't, I was at my most unhappiest. And now that I am who I want to be and posting about things that I enjoy, I'm the happiest I've ever been. So I don't, at that point, it's like I just want to change my following to allow people that want to follow this kind of content to follow me. And if they want to follow something else, they can. That's the beauty about following or unfollowing someone, is you get to see their content or not. So
same
I agree with
here.
you on that. I totally agree with you on that. It's way nicer having it this way. That's for sure.
No, it really is. It just feels a lot more. I'm the exact response. Like I'm just like much happier now. Back then, it's just all about like this crazy validation, and now
Yeah.
it's like, damn, I don't care. Like I'm getting nothing but positive feedback from girls that are actually saying, "Hey, Carla, like you made my day better. Like thank you so much for this and
Yeah.
that." Versus like, "Hey, baby, you look hot." It's like,
Right. And a girl telling me, "Hey, you made my day better," makes me 10 times happier. I mean, it's like, whoa, like I have a potential friend or someone that I can talk to, and that makes me feel so great. Like being in that, I remember I would write down like things that I wanted to change like earlier, because I always journal, like I said, a lot. I think back in like June and July, and I was like, things I want to change. I want to join a community, but I didn't know what kind of community. I'm like, I just want to be a part of like new people to talk to. Like I was tired of the lifestyle I had, the same friends I had. Like, yeah, I have a lot of really good friends, but I just wanted to meet new people. And I look back now, like I did like a little look back at the beginning of the year, and I'm like, holy smokes, like I did what I wanted to do, or at least I'm working on it. So it's nice. It's nice to be around new people. That's like something that I always go for. That's like the traveler in me, the Sagittarius in me. I'm just always wanting to meet new faces and go to different places. Hey, that kind of
yeah,
works.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
okay, you mentioned journaling, and I actually want to get into that because
Yeah.
I used to journal when I was in high school, and I
Mhm.
was like a huge journaler. Like I was constantly writing everything down. And then at one point, because I would write so much like bad stuff that was going on too in my journals, right? And I would
Mhm.
cry and I would write stuff down. And I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? I don't want to know anything that I've ever done ever again because I don't want to read it. So I burned all my journals. And then that was the end of it. And then until
Wow.
recently, I started getting back into journaling because I've been reading all the benefits and people keep constantly mentioning it. That journaling, like in the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, is probably the best thing that you can do because
The
you
best.
literally manifest things into your life. So
And
tell
you
me
don't
about,
even realize you're doing it. Like you don't even, that's the craziest thing. So when I was I want to say it was like August or something. I was like in a really depressed state. And I remember, like you, I was journaling, but only journaling when I was upset. I wasn't journaling when I woke up in the morning when I felt good. I only journaled about things when I was super, super upset. And I'll switch back and forth between my notes. Like sometimes if I'm thinking really fast, I'll like type it in my phone. Like my notes are full of journals. Or, if I want to take the time, I'll write it down. And I told myself, I started reading this book. It was called The Miracle Morning, because I had a really big problem with waking up early. Like if
Mhm.
I would schedule my college classes to be later on in the afternoon, I would, you know what I mean? Like if there was nothing for me to get up to do that next day, like I'd sleep till noon. Like that's what I would do. And even if I didn't go out the night before. So I was trying to figure out ways to get myself to be excited about getting up in the morning. So I started reading the Miracle Morning. I can't remember who the author is, but one of his main things was, for 10 minutes in the morning, you would journal. And then 10 minutes, you would do some kind of exercise, whether it was just walking your dogs or whatever. And then 10-minute meditation. And there was two other steps, just to kind of wake yourself up. So I'm like, I'm going to start doing this, because every person that I listen to Rachel Hollis too. She has the book, Girl, Wash Your Face. And then she also has a podcast too called Rise. Everyone would talk about journaling. So I'm like, okay, this is something that I need to get into, not just when I'm sad or depressed or, need to write my feelings out. I need to write my positive stuff out. So I started journaling like crazy. And I filled up, I remember I would just buy like, just like random notebooks and never fill them up with anything. And now like I've already gone through like two notebooks back to back because I just, every time I think of something, I write it down. And then when I look back, I'm like, I manifested this into my life. I manifested friendships and happiness and a better relationship with my family and my boyfriend. And at times where I was really struggling with that, I think my early 20s, like I remember I used to say like, oh, I love being 21. I love being this young. Like I don't want to get any older. And now that I'm 25, now that
You're
I'm
like, I
25,
never want to get old.
I never want to go back to my early 20s because those were the hard, and I know I'm in my mid 20s, but I'm almost excited to get into my 30s because I feel like maybe I'll have it a little bit more figured out than I already do now, you know? So it's just kind of like, for me, it's like I used to just think about it all the time. And now I'm happy that I was able to overcome those hurdles. And I think when you can visualize it and put it down on a piece of paper or say it out loud even to yourself, like I'm really about positive affirmations. Like I'll be sitting in the car and I'll repeat the same thing over and over and over again, to make myself get out of whatever funk that I'm in. So
That's
yeah,
super
definitely
interesting.
keep
Okay, two
journaling.
points that I want to go back to then. Okay, with
Yeah,
the journaling, hold on. So
yeah.
the affirmations and the journaling. Okay, the journaling. Do you when you're writing stuff down when it's things that make you happy, are you writing down because this is what I've learned recently as well is that a lot of
Hmm.
people what they do is that they write down things that they want in the future as if they already happened now. So let's say right now I'm like, hey, I want to make $20,000 a month. Like I would say,
I
so
make
happy.
$20,000 a month.
Do you do
Yes.
that?
Yes, because Rachel Hollis was the one who inspired me to do that. She has a journal and she writes down the same, I think it's like 10 things every single day until they actually happen. And she
Well,
will repeatedly write down that. I mean, she said some of those things have been on her list for years, and she will still get up every single morning and write down, like, I am a published author. I own a two-story house, or I own a vacation house in Hawaii. That was like, I think, I believe, one of her goals with her husband. And she did that until those things actually happen. And I like to do that too. Like I'll definitely always put it in present tense, because if you already put yourself in that mindset of like who you want to be, then you'll start carrying yourself. At least I feel like through trial and error, and that's how I started acting. Like I stopped telling myself like, oh, I want to be this happy person that's not sad and comfortable in her own skin. And I'm like, no, I am this happy person that's comfortable in her own skin and will take opportunities by the hand instead of like shying away from them, which is something that I used to do in the past a lot. So
that's
yeah,
really
definitely put it
cool.
in present tense for sure.
Totally gonna do that. Okay, so then you mentioned also you do affirmations to get you out of funks, and you do them like over and over and over again. What do you say
Over
to
and
yourself?
over, like, I'll put on a song, or I'll, like, just be sitting in my car, and if I'm in a funk about something, I will say the opposite of whatever I'm upset about, to the point where sometimes I'll, like, even be in my car, like, crying, like, driving home or driving wherever, and, like, screaming it out loud, like, I like to listen to a lot of, like, motivational music or podcasts that, like, they, like, really push you. I feel like any of that stuff is, like, putting yourself on a higher vibration, so when you're like at that level, you're gonna feel stronger. And last year I really got into doing yoga. One of my really good friends is a certified yoga instructor, and she goes to a really nice like hot yoga studio. So she got me into that, and that it's been a month now since I've gone, and that's been a game changer. It clears my mind. It gives me that hour a day to actually focus on your breathing. I mean, it's surprising how much we hold our breath throughout the day. Like you'll be in a conversation or in something, like I'll be at work or something, and I realize I'm like, my anxiety is causing me to hold my breath or just not be able to like ease into it. And I feel like with yoga, just that one nice hour a day that you can give to yourself, is so beneficial. And doing it for, I think I did it for 3 months straight, it helped me a lot in more ways than I could, ever have imagined. So I can't wait to get back into that, because that's like you're becoming aware of yourself and your surroundings, and you kind of just get to melt into that. And they always say, let go of your ego. So you
Yeah.
really let go of how you feel, and you just go with the actual flow. Literally, you go with the flow. So that's been a really like helpful thing for me too.
So the yoga that you've been doing, it's been hot yoga?
Hot yoga, yeah, so there's different classes, there's, like, vinyasa flows, there's
Yeah.
power yoga, and just depending on my mood, if I wanna go to a calmer class, I will, or if I wanna go to one where I'm like, "Ooh, I'm gonna skip the gym today, and I'm gonna have Stephanie," which is the owner of Heat Yoga, "kick my butt in one of her, like, abs and power hour classes, let's do that," and it's fun, because 'cause you're, like, training your body and your mind at the same time, so I like that, and I like to go to the gym and work out and stuff too, but that can get really repetitive super
Yeah.
fast. And I feel like when you're in a class with an instructor, it's nice to let them take control and let yourself do those movements.
I tried the hot yoga. It was actually here in Mexico City a few months back. Both Luke and I tried it, and he thought for sure he was going to die. Like, for sure, thought we were going to have to take him to the hospital. I barely
Oh,
made it through the entire class because I do regular yoga, I do vinyasa and I do that kind of stuff,
yeah.
but I never knew how hot yoga was, like how intense it was.
Hot.
You're literally like in a sauna, and it's
Sauna.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's intense.
It's intense, and I remember my first couple times too, I had to, walk out and get a drink of water and come back in, and I took Trey too, and I took him to a slower one the first time, and he loved it because he's really into working out, but he's not flexible at all, so it really helped him stretch. But then I took him to, like, a really fast-paced strength, like, core strengthening one, and he was looking at me 10 minutes in like, "What did you just take me to?" Like, he managed to get through the class, but he was not happy about it. He's like, "I don't ever wanna go to a class like that again, like, I'm down to go to the slower ones, but I can't handle," because he works outside in the sun all day too, so he's like, "I don't need any more heat than I already get." So, yeah, but for me, I think it's just kind of training yourself to almost breathe in. It's like when you're sitting in a sauna and you're, like, breathing in the heat, and it's almost, like, overwhelming at first,
Yeah.
but then your body gets used to it, and I think after a while, like, I was getting to the point where I would take 2 hot yoga classes back to back, and it was okay.
Oh.
It wasn't. Yeah, because at the end too, like, I like ours. I haven't gone to a lot of studios because I am so new to it too. They always do, like, a cold towel at the end, and it's infused with, like, lavender or
Mm.
citrus or something, and I always look forward to that. So, like, the last 20 minutes, I'll be like, "Oh, I can't wait till that towel comes, and I get to cool down," and they turn the heat off and open up all the doors, and you're just like, ah, but it feels nice, it's like a relief almost. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's hard. I should probably try doing that again because I do enjoy yoga so much. But that one, oh man, they literally
yeah.
kind of scared us out of that class because it was so bad. I was like, okay, that's enough. No, he
Yeah.
had to leave like 20 minutes before. And then
Mhm.
when I went and met up with him outside, he's like, no, Carla, like I literally felt like I was going to
I was
die. Like
dying.
they were gonna have to
Yeah.
call like a doctor.
Yeah, Trey felt the same way. He was not happy about it. He was like, "This is too intense. I don't know how you do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess you do have to ease into it." I feel like there should be like a beginner level where it's only like 30 minutes instead of an hour, like if
Yeah.
you've never done it before. But like I said, I feel like you get used to that heat if you go more consistently.
I feel like
So,
guys always tend to be less flexible than girls because I
yeah.
feel like women
Yeah.
we're always, into trying to stretch as much as we can and
Stretch and
cheerleading and all that stuff. I remember I used to be in cheerleading. I
yeah.
used to love like, trying to do the splits and it was just that's all you would kind of focus on. And I mean, Luke
Yep.
can't even like bend it, like he can't even.
Oh, yeah, there was a point where Trey couldn't even, like, wrap his arms around himself because he was so tense and tight, and I'm like, "Can you even touch your toes?" And he's like, "A little bit, if I really try." So, he's been better at it. Actually, we'll go to the gym, and I'll make him stretch with me the first couple minutes and kind of, we use foam rollers a lot because those are,
Mhm.
like, super nice. So, I've been trying to get him into it, but half the time he's just in doing his own guy thing and ready to work out and be done. But it's important to stretch, as you get older, it's harder. I never want to be able to not touch my toes. I want to be 80 years old, like at the front of the yoga class, like I see some of these women doing all the poses, if not more than anybody. So that's something that I like want to carry with me. I told myself actually one of my goals for this year is to go on a yoga retreat. So
Mm.
just for like a week. And, there's a lot that I've been following, a lot of pages I've been following on Instagram. And I'm like, I really, really want to do it because I feel like it's a nice connection and it'll kind of expand my practice more too. So I,
Absolutely. I've actually even for a while there we were talking about getting into some type of teacher training, and
mm,
we were kind of trying to figure it out, like where we would want me to do it. And we literally were like, well, where do you go to do this kind of stuff? Like, we should go to India. So we were literally thinking about
yeah.
moving to India and going to one of those like places where Luke would we would get like our own place on the side, and then I would go into the classes every single day. And I don't know how long it takes. I think it's months.
Yeah, I
But
think it's a couple months. My girlfriend actually did it. She went with her friend and what I saw from her Instagram, it was an amazing experience. She had a
yeah.
really, really good time and you get to learn from like the instructors. I mean, you really get to get the whole feeling of learning about the practice and stuff. So that would be amazing if you did that. That's like,
Yeah,
whoo,
no,
bring
it's
me with you.
no, I know, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been something that we've
Yeah.
been talking about for a while
Yeah.
because I do notice, I mean, like I've mentioned before with like the depression, the anxiety, I feel like doing yoga really helps me. Meditating really helps me. So we were just kind of thinking like, hey, let's just like go all
Oh,
in into fixing me. Like, let's go to India. Like, let's do
yeah.
this. So, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe in a year or so, maybe we'll end up doing that.
Yeah, maybe I'll come meet you for a couple weeks. That would be
Exactly.
amazing. That's like, that's the ultimate goal too. You get to be flexible, find more of yourself, meditate. I mean, meditating and just the breathing techniques that they do instantly makes you feel better. I would come out of class and like I said, I would put on like a motivational podcast or whatever because I'd be so pumped up from the class and I would start crying, but like happy tears, like it went from crying sad tears to like happy tears and realizing my growth and my progression. And it just makes you feel so good to know, like, you're not where you want to be, but you're getting there, and that's the little things that you should like look forward to.
Yeah, no, it really does
Yeah.
make you feel so good. That's actually something else I wanted to mention to you.
Mm.
You are a very like happy, bubbly person. You're very positive. And I feel that the problem with, I think, people in general, the masses, I guess, they think that
Yeah.
people are just a certain way because they're a certain way, but they don't understand that people like you, people like me, anybody that's doing anything great with their life, really, they're constantly working on themselves. Like, these things don't happen overnight.
No.
I've always thought it's one of those things that's kind of like either you lose it, you use it, or you lose it. Like, if you don't like every single day try very, very hard to be the very best that you can, then progressively over time you kind of start
You
just
start
going
to
downhill.
lose that. You do,
Yeah.
you really do. And I've noticed myself, I would fall into those traps where I would try to be better and then I'd, have a month or two of not caring and not working out, not waking up early and going out, binge drinking and stuff. And I would feel like crap. I would just feel like crap and I felt like I was starting back over. And it is a constant working on yourself. You're consistently trying to make yourself better into the person. I forgot who I was listening to on a podcast, but they said that their one thing is that when he passes away, dies, he believes that you're going to meet the version of yourself that you could have been, and he wants it to be his twin. Like he wants it to be like you were fully able to become who you're supposed to be, and in the worst and have a bunch of things that you wish you would have done but didn't take the time to or were too scared to because of what you thought other people were going to think of you. I feel like that's such a big thing is everyone's so worried about what anyone is going to think of them that it literally inhibits them, stops them dead in their track, would stop me dead in my tracks from doing things that I actually wanted to do because I'm like, oh, well, they don't think I'm that kind of girl. So if I all of a sudden start doing this, they're going to think I'm don't mean it or I'm faking it or whatever, you runs through your mind. But once you let go of that, you realize like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do to make myself a better person for me, for your own sanity and your own happiness. Because at the end of the day, all you have is yourself, and your
Yeah, and then on
family.
top of that, people don't really care. I mean, they might act like they care, and they may say
Yeah.
little things here and there to
Thing.
kind of make you feel bad, but they really don't care because they're too worried about their own life. It's really true.
Exactly. Exactly. Everyone's too worried about themselves to spend more than like a minute or two worrying about what's going on in your life, and people zone in on that, but I think that's just like our nature as human beings is to view the world as like our audience, you know?
We think we're the center of the universe when it's anything
Yeah,
but like,
yeah, we really do. We're very centric. We think that it's all about us all the time when really everyone else is thinking the same thing, you know? So,
I was listening to this well, I was watching it. It was Oprah. She had this huge audience. It was something about like Weight Watchers or something like that, but
mhm.
she had Lady Gaga on, and they had like an hour long conversation, and Lady Gaga was actually talking about how she's literally like in pain every single minute of the day because she has some type of form. They don't want to call it fibromyalgia, but it's like some type of mental, some kind of mental thing that because she was raped when she was 19, she's withholding all this like pain in her body. So it's actually
Wow.
seeps through every single day. And she was talking about because Oprah was like, so you deal with this every single day. She's like, every single day. She's like, I deal with this every single day. I take all of my pills that have helped me with my mental illness. She's like, every single day I'm working on myself every hour of the day. She's like, I constantly need to be checking myself, constantly need to be checking like what I think. I'm constantly, what is it called? She does a thing that's called, and I found really interesting that I know that I do sometimes, but I didn't have a name for it. She calls it opposite action. And what she does in that is if she's feeling kind of like bad at the moment or feeling kind of depressed and she doesn't want to leave her bed, she forces herself to get out of bed. She gets dressed and she goes and like takes a walk. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what we do. Sometimes Luke will be
Yeah.
like, dude, like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, I don't want to leave bed. I don't feel good today. When I tell him I don't feel good, it means that I'm kind of feeling depressed.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
he's like, come on, get up, like put on your clothes, like we're going
We're
outside, we're
going.
going to the park.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to go. He's like, you have to. He's like, you have to change your environment because if not, you're going to stay sitting here depressed and it's just going to get worse and worse. And I do
Yes.
that and it makes me feel better. And I just thought it was amazing that somebody at her caliber of like stardom, she's going through the same stuff that we do in that sense, every single day
Yeah.
she works on herself. So that's why I think it's so important for people out there to know that if they're feeling a certain way or they think that they're depressed, that there is a way out. They just need to work on it. You can't just like let their body kind of do their thing or let their mind maybe figure it out on your own because it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. What did you call it?
Opposite action.
Opposite action. I really like that because I see that in many ways, like through my girlfriends and through myself. You'll get in a certain funk and you'll let your ideas take over. But what my girlfriend was saying is she's been teaching herself to notice as soon as she gets into a funk and automatically flip her thoughts a different way. Because it's crazy. Your brain can do so much, and just by thinking a certain thing automatically makes you feel better. Or for my mom, she had to have hip surgery. So she would always say, like her hip hurts. And, even afterwards, she's like, well, what if my other side happens? And I would always tell her, Mom, you have to think positively because, your body reacts to all those thoughts that you're having. You're producing the dopamine, the chemicals that are going, the happy and sad, your serotonin and stuff. And if it's producing that all the time, then what is it going to do? It's going to start shutting down. And that's something that I realized through when I got my bachelor's for health science. So I really liked all the bio classes and all this stuff like for your body. And I realized that your body and your cells are going to react to what you put it through, and that's just not physically. It's mentally as well. And it's the brain is so complicated and there's still so much like research to be done on it, but I can just tell from what I've learned, that being positive, like you'll see people, they'll get life threatening diagnoses and stuff, and they will be positive about it and they will get through it and overcome stuff where they're like, you have 4 months left to live, or you are going to suffer with this for the rest of your life. And you hear about these miracle stories. And those people really have to have a strong mindset. It's all about how take things in, and if you're going to let that break you down and make you lay in bed all day, or if you're going to let that get you to pick up and go to the park or do something that makes you happy and just change your mind, the opposite, opposite of how you're feeling.
Yeah, changing your mindset. Yeah, no, I totally still struggle with that every single day. I mean, even just
Yeah,
today,
me too. I
or
mean,
you do too.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, even today when I was messaging you, I'm like, oh, the mic's not working. So I was already kind of was pretty upset already because I was listening to the other
Yeah.
podcasts and I sounded very like kind of like, I don't know what it's called, like blown out. My voice sounds like the speaker is kind of blown out. And
Mhm.
the other people that I'm interviewing, they sound fine, but I don't sound good in the podcast. But I'm like, I'm gonna have to put it up anyway because it's just such good information. I can't not put it up. But I was like, really, it really bummed me out. And I was messaging you, telling you like, hey, maybe we're gonna have to postpone. And then I thought, what am I gonna do right now if I postpone this? Like, I already had my set plans. You know, I have my schedule every single day. I already have my set
Yeah.
plan. I'm like, what are you gonna do right now? Like, this is going to throw off your day. So then you're going to be thrown off and then you're going to go down into like your
And you're
spiral of
gonna
a mood.
feel.
You're going to feel like
Yep.
crap. I'm like, no, I'm like, you're not going to let yourself do this. Like, you're going to do this interview. You're going to talk to her. I'm
Yes.
like, if the mic doesn't sound good again, well, then so be it. But I know it's going to be really good information. I know it's going to like help your mood. And sure enough, here I am. I'm happy again. So
Yeah, and I love that because when we were messaging back and forth too, I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe it will be easier to reschedule." But then I'm like, "No, I planned my whole day around
yeah,
this. I had the day off and all this and stuff." And my boyfriend, when we went to lunch and stuff, he was like, "Just go do it, you know, don't reschedule it. Then you're gonna be sitting around not doing anything.
yeah,
Like this is what you had planned." And I've noticed that sometimes I've made plans with people and then I'll cancel them because of how I'm feeling or something goes wrong or whatever, and then your whole day is like out of whack. You're just kind of like, why didn't I just do that thing that I said I was going to do and I was planning for like a week or whatever, you know? And you just, it's so much nicer. Like now that we are on the phone or, you know, talking and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm glad that we're doing this and that we actually got to talk and connect. So I
yeah.
totally agree
Same.
with you with that. Yeah.
Totally. Same here. See, I'm one of those people that I purposely don't like to make plans because I always want to cancel because I think I've mentioned it like in past podcasts. I
Yeah.
literally won't make plans with people because I like the time starts kind of coming near and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like it or like my mood's
Mm,
all funky and I won't make plans. We won't even make plans with friends like on the weekend because we're literally like, what if we get to
oh,
feel
I want to
different that day?
stay. Yeah.
But now that I'm
That's
actually like
cute.
throwing myself into these things, I'm actually a lot happier. I've been in way better moods because I'm like, okay, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do my interviews and I'm going to talk to somebody. And no matter what, I'm not going to cancel. Like it sucks when they
Yeah.
end up canceling, you know, but
Right.
when it's from my point of view, like
At
from my
least
side,
you know, yeah, that you
exactly,
tried.
exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very glad that we did end up doing this.
Me too, me
I
too.
was
I
gonna
always
ask
say,
you, so you mentioned
yeah.
that you have your day off. What is it that you do on a normal basis?
So I'm a bartender and a server, and I'm also an independent distributor for a beauty company. So I'm really into the hair care, skincare, and I like to take the beginning of the week to focus more on my business, and then I'll work, you know, the weekends and at the end of the week, serving and bartending. So after I graduated college, you know, my main passion has always been helping people. So I really like helping people, whether it's, you know, through all the skincare stuff, physically, mentally. So when I went for my health science degree, that's the route that I wanted to go. I wanted to do something in that field. And then once I graduated, you know, it was kind of like that feeling of, well, I went to Europe for a couple months. Like I'm super like obsessed with traveling and just understanding different cultures and getting to know people on that level. And then I was kind of in a funk. Like I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. You know, I don't want to do a 9 to 5. I don't
Mhm.
want to work for someone else. I like doing my own thing. I like being able to travel and, you know, have extra days off. Like I can't just go start working for a company, be bottom of the barrel and ask for 10 days off maybe if I get lucky. You know, I've been very fortunate to where my whole life I've, you know, ever since I've been able to work, I've always worked 2 to 3 jobs because, you know, even though my family's been here, I've had to, you know, support myself. My mom was did as much as she could, but you know, there isn't much that she can do, especially raising 2 other girls, you know. So she was on a whole different focus. So I had to go through like college wise, it, you know, my family, that's what they wanted me to do. Like they were like, you should have to go to college. This is the route that you have to take. And for me, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Like I was a party girl and I loved, you know, doing all that, but I knew that I had to get the good grades, like for myself, but also more to like for my family because it made them so happy. It made my grandmother so happy to see that. So I went and I got scholarships and stuff. I actually was able to graduate debt free. So that was like
Wow.
super helpful. I didn't have to take any money out of my parents' pockets. Because I know how hard it was for them, especially when my grandfather passed away sophomore year in high school. It just changed everything. My grandmother moved in with us. She doesn't drive her own car, so she's, I have to be there all the time. I live with a lot of people. There's like 6 people in my house, so it's always very family oriented. And I had to do a lot of stuff for myself, and my mom trusted me to do all of that, and so going back to, working all of the jobs and what I wanted to do for my career, I knew that I wanted to do something to help, but I just didn't know what. So for the past year and a half now, since graduation, almost 2 years, I've been trying to figure that out, all the while working 2 amazing jobs that I do love and that have done so much for me, more than I, could ever ask. So once I found, this like healthcare beauty side, I'm like, wow, this is something that I might be really interested in and that I can see myself making an income doing, and not having to sacrifice traveling or time, or, obviously I'm putting in the hours, but I'm putting them on my time. So I really like that. I like to be able to have a day off. And if I want to go to the gym in the morning and then do a little bit of work, and, I can pick and choose my own schedule. And that's not something you get when you're going into the corporate world at all. So
Yeah,
that's like
no, not
my
at all.
main focus. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
main
I
focus
I
for
used to
sure.
be like in the corporate world, and I remember that specifically having to ask like, "Hey, oh yeah." I mean, I used to do business development for an engineering company. So it was totally like that. Like I would have to ask from the whole year, and then that's it. That's all you get. Anything else would be maybe like medical leave or anything like that. And I used to hate it, and I used to think like, is this really like the way the rest of my life is going to go? I'm going to have to be asking people for permission to get out of work. And yeah, I used to work at a bank too. I used to be a banker, and I hated that life. I mean, you would literally live for the weekends when you work
You
those kind of
would.
jobs.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when I would have
And
my weekend, I would, exactly like you said, I would just party. Like that's
the
all I
whole
would do, because
time.
I would be trying to get my mind off of my horrible life.
And having to go back to work on Monday. And that's a horrible cycle. If you're living for the weekends, then I feel like, you're doing it wrong, because you should be living for every day. And being able to have that flexible schedule for me that's a game changer. I could never do a 9 to 5 or working in an office or a cubicle. I want to make my own office and my own time. So I'm always looking for career paths that will allow me to do that. And that's why, and especially in my household, my grandma's like, so are you going back for your master's? When are you going to start a real professional
Yeah.
job and everything? And they don't get it. I mean, they do, my mom does to a certain extent, but it's harder explaining to the older generation, like how you're feeling, because they have their ways that they grew up and the only ways that they knew how to make money. But there's so many other ways, and there's so many ways. You don't have to be making millions of dollars. I want to be making a good amount of money, but I want to also be happy. I don't want to be miserable and being like, oh well, I make all these thousands of dollars, but I have to be in meetings day in and day out and don't get to hang out with my future husband or kids or anything. I just feel like that's a horrible way to live the next 20 or 30 years of my life, and just it's icky. I don't want to do it, It's definitely not
Yeah,
my path.
I never
Yeah.
even really knew there was a different option until I met Luke. And then as soon as we started dating, I noticed that he would just work from home, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, does he even have a
Yeah.
job? Like, that was my first thought. And he's like, Carla, I have my own company. Like, he's like, I don't need to be like in an office or anything. Like, I do everything online and through phone calls. Like, I don't, and even then, like, it wasn't much anymore because he had just kind of like sacrificed for so long, to get to that point. And then, yeah, he was just like, yeah, I don't have to have an office or anything. And I'm like, oh my God, how did you
And
do
I
that?
love that. That's
Yeah,
like amazing. And that's what allowed, you guys to be able to travel and do all that stuff on your own time. And that's what I love about it. And I read a quote somewhere. It was, you have to be willing to live a couple years of your life like no one else will, so that you can live like the rest of your life like no one else can. And that's something
totally.
that has really stuck with me, because I'm willing to hustle very hard and learn everything and develop my own business into what I want it to be for these couple of years and just sacrificing grind to be able to be like, oh, okay, now it's all set up and it's residual income and, I don't have to worry about it as much. And that's all I can focus in and zone in on. And, all these podcasts and stuff that I listen to, they're all like, your parents might not believe in you, your friends might not believe in you, but as long as you believe and show those results, like talk about it less, do it more in a sense of a way, everyone will get it at the end. You just got to kind of believe in yourself. And sometimes I'll get down and I'll be like, am I doing this right? Should I go get a corporate job? Should I just join everyone else and try to make it work that way? And then I'm like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I want for myself. And I just have to kind of, like you said, turn it opposite and switch my mind up and be like, no, this is what I want to focus in on. And this is what I'm really actually passionate about.
Yeah, you mentioned residual income, and that's like the key word. That's a word that I feel a lot of people have never even heard of. I hadn't
Yeah.
either, and it's such an important word. And if you guys don't know what residual income is, it's basically when you have a business set up and you're making money from it monthly from basically one transaction. Like you make one sale, and then from then here on, you're going to be making that money.
Yeah. You don't have to physically be there to make that money. So that's
Exactly. It's
the
kind of
best
like the
part.
way that gyms work, and like the way that let's say like Netflix works, for instance. You
Yeah. Like
get for a
it's a
membership.
reoccurring payment. It's a
Yeah.
reoccurring payment. Yeah.
Yeah. And that I
So,
feel
and
like
that's
that should
nice.
be everybody's goal because
Absolutely.
no, that's really, really amazing. I'm so happy that you have like your mind in that setting because not a lot of people do.
Yeah, and that's something that and, I've always, told myself I wanna have multiple streams of income because
Yeah.
you never know what could happen and you never know, what path life goes down. So I'm always, willing to learn from people, and that's why I'm always listening to podcasts and trying to better myself because, we live in a world where the internet is right at our fingertips and we can Google anything and we can learn how to do anything through watching just a simple YouTube how-to video. And just there's so many avenues. I mean, if you're not making money off the internet yet, that's something that everyone should be doing because that is the future. I mean, that is everything is turning into electronic, everything's turning into, being able to make money, like I said, without you having to actually sit there and go into work to do it. And I love that. I love that. I want that to be, my life in the future to be able to say like, hey, I have these multiple sources of income and I feel financially secure. I want financial freedom. And I'm sure everybody else does too. They just don't know what avenues to take to get to that. And they're so stuck in like, let me work 40 hours a week to make this amount of money and, either go paycheck to paycheck or, put only a little bit into savings. And it's like, there's so many other ways that you can make money. Think of it as in product amount instead of hour amount. And then you're going into the millionaire status, so that's what I've been grinding for the past 6 months extremely hard. So
What is it that you do exactly with the skincare company? How does the business model work?
so I work as an independent distributor for a hair and skincare company. They're vegan, anti-aging. They've been around for 5 years, and they actually started in Miami. It's a family-based company, and they grew within the past 5 years to a billion-dollar company. So what they do is they hire. They're also debt-free, so everything, the factories, the manufacturing, everything is run with the company, and they hire independent distributors. You sign up as an independent distributor and you're able to promote the products and make money off of selling the products and having people join you. So if you want someone to join you as an independent business partner, you guys can work together and grow together. Their compensation plan is unmatched from what I've seen from any other, distributing companies. And it's very easy to make money if you put in the work. It's not easy, but it's easy to create a profit for yourself. And I've seen it change the lives of a couple of my really good friends and just getting to, and like I said, it threw me into this community of women who know what they want in life, know, like are trying to achieve it. So when you're surrounding yourself by people that are, goal oriented and may have different techniques that you haven't thought about yet on how to get to those goals, like even if I didn't make a single penny off of it, that's something that I would grow from forever, but through it, I've been able to help girls. I've been able to talk to girls about the skincare they launched. So it was a hair care company exclusively until September of last year. I joined back in July, and then they launched the skincare. And that's when I like lost it, because that's my realm. So that's like something that I know that I can really, really help people with. And they're called Monate. That's the name of the business. And yeah, it's just sharing what you love. It's just like social selling. When you see something that you enjoy, or when an influencer posts like, "Hey, try this mascara, this curling wand," and then people are buying it, why not make your own money off of it, instead of just getting freebies or maybe a percentage off of what a company would give to you. If you are working underneath them, you get to be your own business owner in a way. And there's lots of room to grow. There's no, like glass ceiling that you're kind of stuck underneath. You're always working for yourself. So it's
That's
nice.
super cool. I'm excited for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I actually
Thank
want to know more
you.
about the skincare line because I'm always in
Yeah.
need of this stuff.
Absolutely. You should definitely try it and let me know, like, give me your opinion. I'm always looking for real opinions, like, and people genuinely telling me how it worked on their skin or their hair and everything. So definitely, you should definitely give it a try.
Very cool, Sophia. Okie dokie.
Yeah.
I think I'm running out of time,
Okay.
but I had a blast chatting with you. We're definitely gonna have to do this again and probably just do it like
Absolutely.
offline, just like a normal conversation,
Talk
I
to each
guess.
other. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It
So
was so nice.
can you tell my listeners and viewers, the viewer part isn't up there yet. I'm glad that my podcast is like on its way, but I'm still trying to get the YouTube up. Hopefully it
Yeah,
will. We'll see. But
I
anyway,
think it will. I think it
I hope
will.
so. But can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media or any links that you'd like to mention?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's official Sophia Smiles, because I'm always smiling.
Yeah.
And like I said, my name is spelled Sofia. So I usually only just use Instagram. I don't have a Twitter, and I keep Facebook for family and stuff like that. So definitely look me up on Instagram.
They definitely will. And that's another part that
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, that your Instagram is actually official Sophia Smiles. And it's like, that just goes to show you how much, guys, she's like happy all the time. But remember, everybody, she works on this happiness every single day.
Right. It's you struggle with it every day. You have to create that happiness. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I love that message
Yeah.
because it's something that I live by myself as well. But Sophia, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you for
Really, really
having
appreciate
me.
it. I had a blast having a chat with you. It felt very easy, very normal. It felt like we've been friends for a long time, which is super weird.
I love it. It's awesome. It flowed amazing. It was
No,
great.
super, super cool. All right, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for tuning into the Carla Code. I'll see you guys next time.